Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today what we're going to do is take some of these accent squares and we're going to draw. So I'm going to pull it open, anchor it with my finger there, and then pull the...
Donna Jordan was the beating heart of Jordan Fabrics until a quiet, mid-video reveal changed everything. She wasn't just a quilting instructor, she was a companion in living rooms across the world. With her calm voice, her unwavering precision, and her gentle warmth, Donna Jordan stitched more than fabric, she stitched connection. For over 700,000 subscribers on YouTube, she was a daily presence, someone who turned craft into comfort, who made quilting feel like home. But that comforting rhythm came to a jarring halt, without warning, without explanation. On March 18, 2025, a video appeared on the official Jordan Fabrics channel, titled Celebration of Life, Donna Jordan Dropped Diamonds, it seemed like. Any other tutorial, soft music, fabric pieces, and a project unfolding under steady hands. But at exactly 11 minutes and 57 seconds, the camera cut. The air shifted. Matt Jordan, Donna's husband and business partner, appeared, his voice cracking under the weight of something much heavier than fabric. With eyes red and voice low, he said it: Donna had passed away. According to Matt, Donna had died 4 days earlier, on March 14th at 4 a.m. But there had been no announcement until this quiet, almost hidden disclosure buried within a video meant for quilting. There was no dedicated post, no social media update, no obituary on any news outlet. Just Matt's raw voice, one man, alone, delivering the news that shook a community of hundreds of thousands. The contrast was staggering. A woman so deeply involved, with her audience, who once explained every needle pull and seam decision, had left the world without a final message. The community didn't know how to process it. Was this really how it ended? A sudden shift in a YouTube video? It felt too quiet, too strange, too carefully placed. Loyal viewers, who had watched Donna for years, flooded the comment section. Some cried. Others asked if it was real. Many rewatched the video, hoping it was a misunderstanding. But it wasn't. And it wasn't just the absence of formal recognition that confused people, it was the lack of any sign that Donna had even been unwell. No goodbye, no farewell video, not even a hint that she'd be stepping away. In the weeks leading up to her death, her content had continued as normal. She looked a bit pale, perhaps tired, but nothing that screamed crisis. There was no context, no explanation, just a sudden, irreversible silence. In a world where influencers often share every detail of their personal lives, from breakfast routines to hospital visits, Donna's departure felt hauntingly cold. A life that had been so generously shared ended without a curtain call. Her passing became more
Donna
than a
never
loss.
once
It
shared
became a
any
mystery.
information about her
But
health
what began
condition.
as a heartfelt tribute quickly unraveled into a timeline that didn't make sense. She died in 2025, so how was her death reported
in
in
a context
2023?
where the family
That's
is very private.
the question that ignited an
made it
internet
impossible
firestorm
for followers
just days
to
after the Celebration of Life video went live. Quietly confirming Donna Jordan's passing on March 14th, a post surfaced that shook her entire fan base. It wasn't from a family member. It wasn't even from
Unlike
a
the
quilting
familiar
forum.
style
It
of
came
Donna,
from a Richmond
who
FC
always
source,
accompanied
a minor
viewers
account
through every
with no
small
direct connection
quilting
to
step.
Jordan Fabrics that claimed Donna had died on August 11, 2023, nearly 8 months before Matt's official statement. At
Everything
first,
happened
people assumed
as
it had
if
to
it
be a
had been
mistake, a
predetermined,
typo, maybe,
neatly scripted,
an outdated cached
efficiently.
file or copy-paste
There was
error
no
in a
public
forgotten
funeral.
corner of the internet.
No
But it
behind-the-scenes
didn't take
photos
long
were
before
shared.
that small post began gaining traction. It had a date. It had her name. And it carried with it a strange, bone-deep sense of unease. Was it just an
The only
anomaly
person who
in some
appeared by
automated
Matt's
system,
side in
or
public
was it something
was
more
James
unsettling,
Jordan,
an early leak
one
that
of
wasn't
their 4
supposed to
children,
exist?
Michelle,
The timing didn't add up.
Monica,
The
and
community
Peter.
had been actively watching Donna in videos well into late 2024. She was still speaking, still sewing, still showing up,
Differences in
with a needle in
subsequent
hand
videos
and a
or
smile
posts.
on her face. But if this post was right, if she had truly passed
For
in
those who follow the
mid-2023,
YouTube channel
then what
and
had the
know it
audience
is a
been
family
seeing?
business,
Were her final videos filmed much earlier than anyone realized? Had the content been stockpiled and
disappeared
strategically
from
released
all
to
media
disguise her
platforms.
absence?
No
The
messages,
deeper people dug,
no
the more the
statements.
questions multiplied. Reddit exploded with speculation. Quilting forums began to resemble investigative threads. Every frame
Matt took
of
on
Donna's
the
last
coaching and
appearances was
editing
put under the
and
microscope.
live interaction.
One user pointed
Regular
out that her
viewers
hand
quickly
seemed slower,
realized
more deliberate. Another claimed her voice was slightly hoarse, more reserved. There was even talk of her wearing a wig, subtle signs of a woman who may have been hiding a worsening condition. But none of this was ever acknowledged by Donna herself or her family. The silence was loud. The conflicting dates made the silence feel like a strategy. If it was a database error, why wasn't it addressed? Why not issue a statement clearing the confusion? Why was Donna's death treated not just as a loss, but almost as a secret? A mystery wrapped in a brand, buried beneath layers of scheduled uploads and well-maintained appearances. People weren't just mourning, they were trying to piece together a timeline that had been carefully disassembled. The truth became less about the date on the calendar and more about what it represented. A crack in a flawless facade. A rupture in the image of a family that once shared everything, but suddenly shared nothing. When followers looked for answers, all they found were conflicting clues just enough to provoke, never enough to confirm. That single 2023 post shouldn't have meant anything. But in the context of quiet funerals, missing updates, and the eerie continuity of content, it became a red flag. A warning sign that maybe not everything was as it seemed, and as questions about the timeline grew louder, something else became impossible to ignore. In a family-run brand, why did her children vanish without a word? For years, the heart of Jordan Fabrics wasn't just Donna, it was the entire Jordan family. Viewers knew their names, spotted their cameos, and felt the warmth of a true family operation. There was Michelle, the steady hand behind logistics. Monica, often spotted guiding customers at quilting events. Peter, the youngest, working quietly in the background packing, organizing, helping. And James, who eventually stepped forward to assist with filming. Together, they weren't just supporting Donna, they were part of the brand's soul. But when Donna passed, something strange happened. Her family, those once familiar faces, didn't step into the light. They disappeared. Not a single one of Donna's children issued a public statement. No tribute post. No farewell message. No heartfelt memory to comfort the community that had spent years watching their mother. The silence was louder than any eulogy could have been. At a time when fans were aching for closure, the people who had every reason to speak vanished into thin air. The only person who spoke, who faced the camera and carried the weight, was Matt Jordan. And even then, James made a few quiet appearances. He was seen assisting in some post-Donna videos, helping Matt manage camera angles, editing, the quiet logistics of content creation. But even that, over time, faded. He moved behind the scenes, retreating into shadows, just like his siblings had. For a brand built on openness and presence, this sudden and total silence from Donna's children felt like a rupture in the emotional fabric. To the public, it wasn't just a family retreating. It felt like abandonment. Followers who had formed parasocial bonds with the Jordans weren't simply expecting statements, they were yearning for reassurance. A moment of shared grief, a thread of continuity. Something that said, we're still here, we're still family. But none came. In every video that followed Donna's death, there was a glaring absence, not just of Donna's voice, but of every trace of the family she had introduced to the world. This absence wasn't just logistical, it was emotional. Donna's children had helped build Jordan Fabrics into what it became. Their silence left a gaping wound in the brand's identity. The community began speculating. Was the family fractured? Were they grieving in private? Or had they stepped away for good, unwilling to continue a legacy that no longer felt whole? There were no answers, just a brand continuing on, missing its roots. What once felt like a tight-knit team now resembled a shell, a one-man front maintaining the image of a full-hearted family company. Donna's death didn't just remove a leader, it scattered the structure. The foundation cracked, and the people who once gave it warmth, her children chose not to return. As the family faded from view, Matt Jordan stepped forward, but the transformation was striking. He was always behind the scenes until Donna was gone. Matt Jordan had been the quiet force behind the camera, the calm presence just outside the frame, organizing kits, filming tutorials, managing logistics while Donna took center stage. To longtime viewers, He was the supporting character in a story that always belonged to her. But the moment Donna's voice fell silent, Matt stepped forward not as a grieving husband, but as the new face of Jordan Fabrics. And he didn't ease into the spotlight. He filled it entirely. Without fanfare or explanation, he began doing what Donna had done for years, filming fabric tutorials, demonstrating quilting techniques, speaking to the camera with a familiar rhythm, a familiar energy, eerily so. The angles remained the same, the lighting identical, the studio untouched. Even the titles, thumbnails, and voice inflection carried the same cadence that Donna had perfected over time. It was, in every technical sense, a seamless transition. But for many, it was too seamless. The absence of formal rebranding was what disturbed people the most. There was no introduction, no moment of acknowledgement where Matt stated he'd be taking over. No "in memory of," no "for Donna." Just business as usual videos posted, fabrics sold, emails answered. As though the loss of Donna, the very identity of the brand, hadn't shaken the foundation at all. To some, this was admirable, professional, resilient, but to others, it was jarring, cold, and almost too perfect. What viewers couldn't shake was the uncanny mirroring. It didn't feel like evolution. It felt like imitation, like someone trying to preserve a ghost. Matt wasn't making the brand his own. He was trying to wear a legacy that didn't quite fit. His voice was softer, his pace slower, and despite the efforts, the emotional spark was missing. Donna had a way of making even the most complex quilting technique feel like a shared secret between friends. Matt, though well-meaning, felt distant, like a teacher reading someone else's notes. And then came the division in the community. Some supported him fully, commending his strength, his consistency, his loyalty to Donna's memory. Others grew uncomfortable, pointing out the lack of transparency, the emotional void, the manufactured continuity that felt more like denial than tribute. The comment sections became a mix of condolences and confusion. Some begged Matt to take a break to process the grief. Others asked when the channel would return to something real. And still, Matt pushed on. Video after video, product after product. But behind the technical perfection was a growing question. Was Matt honoring Donna or trying to become her? In the quiet echo of her absence, every perfectly placed camera angle, every familiar script line became a reminder not of her presence, but of her loss. Jordan Fabrics hadn't paused. It hadn't stumbled. It had absorbed the shock and kept going. But something felt different. Because it wasn't just the face of the brand that had changed, it was its very soul. Donna is gone, but her face still greets you on every page. It's been months since the announcement, yet to anyone visiting Jordan Fabrics for the first time, it would seem as though nothing has changed. Donna's image remains front and center. Her name still etched under designer credits, still used to sell quilting kits she'll never touch again. The About Us page is frozen in time, untouched by the gravity of her passing, still referencing a team that, in reality, has splintered and faded from the public eye. No mention of her death, no revision of roles. It's as if the website exists in a parallel timeline where Donna Jordan never left. But loyal followers know the truth. They've seen the shift. They've felt the silence. And yet, with each click, they're met with the same signature fonts, the same color palettes, the same curated world Donna built now strangely hollow. The new videos, though fresh in date, echo her old techniques. Matt mirrors her rhythm. Occasionally, clips of Donna's past tutorials are edited into the present content montages that feel less like celebration and more like substitution. Familiar, movements recycled, like ghostly fingerprints on the fabric of a living brand. What began as homage now raises deeper questions. Is this a tribute to a beloved founder? Or is it the slow commodification of grief? There's no denying Donna built something extraordinary, an empire rooted in skill, warmth, and sincerity. But when a brand continues to sell under a name that can no longer approve, endorse, or evolve, it drifts into dangerous territory. At what point does preservation become exploitation? For some fans, the continuation is comforting, a way to hold on, a symbol that Donna's vision lives on. But for others, It feels artificial, like being asked to believe she's still here, still guiding the process, when everything beneath the surface has changed. There's a fine line between honoring a legacy and freezing it in time. And Jordan Fabrics is walking it with unnerving precision. The brand hasn't collapsed, sales haven't plummeted, but the magic, the spark that came from Donna's genuine connection to her audience, is flickering. What was once a place of innovation and interaction now feels like a shrine, polished, preserved, and emotionally suspended. Nostalgia can be a powerful foundation, but when it becomes the ceiling too, progress dies in its shadow. Jordan Fabrics now faces an identity crisis cloaked in routine. And for every order placed, every view counted, there's a growing question buried beneath the fabric and thread. How long can a brand survive on memory alone? This reluctance to move on is haunting a brand that once thrived on connection. Donna didn't just sew fabric, she stitched herself into people's lives. For many, she wasn't just a creator, she was a companion. Week after week, year after year, Donna Jordan showed up smiling, calm, and endlessly patient. She wasn't just teaching a quilting technique, she was telling a story. Every fold, every cut, every seam came with a soft-spoken explanation, a personal anecdote, a gentle encouragement that made even the most complicated patterns feel achievable. She turned cold instruction into warm ritual, transforming a how-to video into something that felt like a visit with an old friend. And through it all, her viewers began to feel they knew her really knew her. That's what made her death feel so personal, like losing someone they had never met, but deeply loved. Yet, as the days passed and questions emerged, that grief began to twist. It wasn't just sorrow anymore, it was confusion, frustration, betrayal. Donna had always been open about her quilting journey, about her creative process, about her family, but not about her health. In her final months, as her appearance subtly changed, her complexion growing paler, her energy fading, there was no update, no hint of a struggle behind the camera. She vanished quietly, without warning, without a goodbye. For a woman who had spent years letting people into her studio, her silence felt deafening. Viewers weren't looking for drama. They were looking for honesty, a moment of truth, a chance to say goodbye. But that chance never came. And when the announcement finally arrived, buried within a quilting tutorial, hidden behind a timestamp, it felt like a curtain had been dropped. Not in closure, but in avoidance. Fans who had followed her every stitch, who had cheered her on for years, felt like they were suddenly on the outside of something they'd helped build. They had invited Donna into their lives, trusted her voice, her consistency, her kindness, and now they were left grieving in confusion, without clarity, without closure. It wasn't just a shock, it was a fracture in the trust they had so willingly given. Her absence wasn't just felt, it echoed. Across forums, comment sections, and quilting groups, people shared not just sadness, but emptiness. For many, quilting was therapy. And Donna was the therapist, a silent companion who helped them through grief, isolation, recovery. She was more than a teacher. She was a guide. And when she left without a farewell, it didn't feel like a quiet retirement. It felt like abandonment. Not malicious, not intentional, but heartbreaking all the same. And yet, despite the hurt, one thing remained clear. Donna's impact was unmatched. Her legacy wasn't in the fabric she sold, but in the memories she helped people sew into their own lives. That kind of connection isn't manufactured. It's earned. And once it's gone, it can't be replaced. Not by uploads, not by recycled thumbnails, not even by well-intentioned successors. But how did this empire even begin? And how did one woman build something so powerful? It began with scraps in a garage and grew into a quilting empire. Long before the polished tutorials and nearly 1 million YouTube subscribers, Donna and Matt Jordan were just two determined dreamers, surrounded by bolts of fabric and stacks of handwritten orders in a small workspace in Grants Pass, Oregon. The year was the late 1980s, and their business was as humble as it gets, hand-cutting fabric, packaging orders by flashlight, driving across the country to attend trade shows, pitching their kits to anyone willing to stop and listen. There were no cameras, no online shops, no influencers, just grit, creativity, and a vision that quilting could be more than just craft, it could be community. They didn't have a media strategy. They didn't need one. Donna's designs sold themselves. Her ability to turn simple patterns into elegant, attainable art was unmatched. And together, she and Matt worked tirelessly, blending old-fashioned hustle with a sharp eye for what quilters truly wanted. But as the world began to shift into the digital age, most in the craft industry stayed rooted in tradition. Donna didn't. In 2015, at a time when YouTube was still a novelty in the quilting world, Donna made a decision that would change everything she brought Jordan Fabrics to the screen. What began as quiet demonstrations filmed in their modest shop quickly gained momentum. Not through flashy production or paid promotions, but through something far more powerful: authenticity. Each video was an invitation not just to learn, but to feel part of something. A warm voice, precise hands, and an energy that made every viewer believe they could create something beautiful too. Unlike others chasing sponsorships, Donna refused corporate deals. Everything she used, every kit, every tool came directly from their warehouse. The model was genius. Teach people how to make something, then offer them the exact materials to do it. It wasn't manipulation, it was trust. A full-circle business built on transparency, consistency, and shared passion. With every upload, Jordan Fabrics grew not just in views, but in loyalty. They weren't just selling fabric anymore. They were selling confidence, hope, connection. And Donna wasn't just the face. She was the engine, the artist, the strategist, the brand voice, and the visionary. From designing patterns to scripting tutorials, every stitch of the company had her fingerprints on it. Matt kept the wheels turning, but Donna drove the direction. And what began as two people hand-cutting fabric turned into a global platform, reaching hundreds of thousands of homes each week. It's rare for a brand to grow without losing its soul. But Jordan Fabrics didn't just grow, it thrived, all while preserving the values it was born from. Simple, personal, real. That's why Donna's absence now feels so seismic. Because what she built wasn't just a business, it was a world. One where creativity had no gatekeepers, where kindness was currency, and where anyone with a sewing machine felt like they belonged. Yet, for someone who gave so much publicly, Donna's private world was tightly sealed. No scandals, no interviews, no public life outside the channel. In an age where influencers overshare and every public figure becomes a headline waiting to happen, Donna Jordan stood apart, eerily apart. She wasn't just private. She was invisible outside the curated frame of Jordan Fabrics. No podcast appearances, no magazine profiles, no panels at national quilting expos. Despite being the face of a multi-million-dollar brand, Donna never stepped into the broader spotlight. And for a long time, that only added to her charm. She was seen as humble, grounded, focused entirely on her craft and community. But in hindsight, the perfection feels unsettling. Every detail of her online presence was meticulously managed, controlled, not by third parties, but by the family itself. The YouTube channel, the website, the official Instagram. All content was created in-house. All narratives approved before they reached the public. Nothing leaked. Nothing slipped. While her competitors were engaging in cross-platform deals, Donna remained in her carefully guarded realm. And that, in itself, became the brand. Clean, simple, safe. But over time, the silence started to feel strategic, intentional. Her spotless record, no online controversies, no backlash, no failed collaborations began to raise eyebrows. Not because people suspected wrongdoing, but because perfection is rarely this seamless. Especially in a world where even the kindest creators eventually face critique. Donna never did. Her videos were universally praised. Her demeanor never cracked. There were no angry rants, no controversial opinions, no unedited moments. Just constant poise, constant warmth. And when you look closer, it becomes clear. Donna Jordan wasn't just running a business. She was preserving an image. One so pure, so untouched by the messiness of the real world that it bordered on surreal. Her story was confined to the borders of her studio, where nothing unpredictable could reach her. And in that space, she could remain exactly what the audience wanted her to be. Perfect. But perfection has a price. And that price became glaring after her death. Because there was no media legacy outside the brand, no public interviews to pull from, no statements, no articles, no reflections from outside voices. Just the videos, beautiful, polished, and now hauntingly frozen in time. The same platforms that once made Donna seem larger than life now serve as a sealed vault, a place that reveals only what was permitted, never what was real. Compared to other creators in the same space, Donna's absence from wider media feels like a missing piece. Most influencers build outwards books, product lines, guest spots. Donna built inwards, insulating her brand within a bubble. And when she passed, that bubble didn't pop. It just floated, sealed, unchanged. But now, questions echo louder within that quiet space. Not about what she did, but about what we never got to see, what she chose to hold back, and what was hidden behind the stillness. So now, the question isn't whether Donna is missed, but whether Jordan Fabrics can survive her absence. A brand built on one soul now survives on memory. How long can that last in the months since Donna Jordan's quiet exit from this world? Jordan Fabrics has continued. The lights are still on. Orders are still shipping. Videos are still being uploaded. On the surface, it seems like the brand hasn't missed a beat. But anyone paying attention can feel it. The rhythm has changed. The heart that once pulsed through every stitch, every tutorial, every word, is no longer beating behind the camera. And no matter how carefully Matt Jordan mirrors her tone, her pace, or her presence, the absence is undeniable. The content remains consistent. New patterns are demonstrated. Fabric is still cut and folded with care, but the spark that once made every upload feel personal, feel essential, is flickering. Viewers watch, but fewer comment. They like, but don't linger. The soul of the brand, once fueled by Donna's unshakable connection with her audience, now runs on routine. Not innovation, not joy, just repetition. Despite that, the numbers haven't crumbled. Views are steady. Sales are reportedly stable. But there's no movement forward. No rise. No sense of evolution. Growth, once a constant trait of Jordan Fabrics, has hit a ceiling. And that ceiling is built on Donna's shadow, unmatched, unchallenged, and increasingly untouchable. There is no new design visionary stepping in. No bold statement about the future direction of the brand. No attempt to reimagine what Jordan Fabrics can be without Donna at its helm. Instead, the strategy appears to be holding the line, preserving what was, without daring to redefine what could be. And that kind of preservation, while comforting in the short term, becomes dangerous in the long run. Because nostalgia, as powerful as it is, eventually fades. And when the only thing holding a brand together is the memory of a person no longer. Here, the expiration date becomes inevitable. The risk now is clear. Jordan Fabrics may be transforming into a monument, a living museum of Donna's legacy. And museums, by nature, don't move forward, they simply maintain. If the brand continues to rely solely on her past work, her signature designs, her archived voice, it will eventually become a time capsule. Revered, respected, but no longer relevant. That's not what Donna built. She wasn't a curator of the past, she was a creator of the future. She embraced platforms others avoided. She turned craft into commerce without losing her soul. She redefined what it meant to lead with humility and precision. But none of that came from standing still. It came from moving forward, always. Now, Matt faces a choice. Does he continue as caretaker of a memory? Or does he risk change, introduce new voices, expand the vision, and let the brand evolve into something Donna would have been proud to pass on? That answer will determine whether Jordan Fabrics survives the coming years or slowly fades into the very thing Donna never allowed herself to become: predictable. Donna Jordan left behind more than quilts. She left behind a legacy. But legacies must evolve, or they unravel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.